Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 14th day of July 2021 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad-gītā as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 13, Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Text number 16 on page 547. Got it? That's it. Okay. All right. Bahir Antash Shabhutanam Acharam Charamevacha Sukshmatvat Tadavigyayam Durastam Chantike Chatat Baharantashtabhutanam Acharang Charamevacha Sukshmatvat Tadavigyayam Durastang Chantike Chatat Bahadantashtabhutanam Acharang Charamevacha Sukshmatvat Tadavigyayam Durastang Chantike Chatat. Go ahead. Bahadantashtabhutanam Acharang Charamevacha Sukshmatva tadavigyeyam durastam chantike chatat bahirantashta bhutanam acharang charamevacha Sukshmatva tadavigyeyam durastam chantike chatat. Tyler, you want to try? You don't have to. Bahirantashta bhutanam acharang charamevacha vat. Yeah, sukshmat vat. Sukshmat vata davigyeyam durastam chantike chatat. No. Okay. You got it. Bahi, outside, antaha, inside, cha, also, bhutanam, of all living entities, acharam, not moving, charam, moving, eva, also, cha, and sukshmatvat, on account of being subtle, tat, that, avigyeyam, unknowable, durastam, far away, cha, also, antike, near, cha, and tat. Translation. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. The Supreme Truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Purport. In the Vedic literature, we understand that Nārāyaṇa, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present in both the spiritual and material worlds. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of the Vedic literature. Asino duram vrajati shayano yati sarvata. Katha Upanishad 1-21. And because he is always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly. It is confirmed in the Brahma-saṁhitā that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And that is confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 11.54, that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktya tunannaya shakyaha. Om jnana timurandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So Krishna is continuing to describe the goal of knowledge. Again, Arjuna asked these 6 questions. He wanted, what is Purusha, what is Prakriti, what is the Chaitra, or the body, what is the Chaitra Gya, the knower of the body, what is knowledge, and what is the goal of knowledge. So he's answered the first 5. The Purusha is the living entity in the material world, who, though by nature Prakriti energy, is trying to be the energetic, trying to be the enjoyer and controller of this world. The Chaitra is this body, a field, in which we have all of our experience. We are the Chaitra Gya, the knower of the field. This is explained in the 2nd chapter, where Krishna describes the consciousness, Abhinashi tatadvidi yena sarvam idam tatam. He says that which is spread throughout the body is indestructible. And that which is spread is consciousness. When you think about it, if you knock your knee or anything, you can feel it, right? What to speak of your conscious or your senses, And so that's the Chaitra Gya, which is not different from the Purusha, actually. The Purusha is the same, but they're different from different perspective. Then the process of knowledge has been outlined in text 8-12 here. And there are 20 items, beginning with humility. The humility has to be there because with our present senses and mind, we cannot understand that which is beyond the range of the senses and mind. That's axiomatic. And the consciousness, even the soul, is beyond our ability to see or understand directly. It's so subtle. Consciousness, even the scientists to this very day cannot figure out exactly what consciousness is or how it is created. They think it's miscreated. So, what to speak of the supreme consciousness? So that's why he said here, avigyayam, right? Subtle and therefore avigyayam means cannot be known with our present senses and mind. So now he's describing, in the last few verses he's described, and there's a lot of what I call Upanishadic verses here. The Bhagavad-gītā is known as also the Gita Upanishad. And the Gita Upanishad, the Upanishads often have these paradoxical statements. We had quoted, Apanipado javana grihita pashyat chakshu sashanocha karna. Although he has no hands or legs or feet, he is faster than everyone else running without any feet. And he can grasp anything with no hands. Although he has no eyes, he can see. Although he has no ears, he can hear. So that means that he has a different kind of eye and ear, and he has a body, but it's Satchidananda body, made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Now the wonderful thing about it is that we also have such a body, but not this body. This body is covering our spiritual body. We have, our nature is to be eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But anyone can just introspect a little and see, well, am I eternal? No. This body is temporary. Am I full of knowledge? I have a little knowledge, but there's all trillions of things I don't know. And bliss, there's some peak experiences, get a little pleasure here and there, but I'm certainly not full of ananda at every moment. So we are not Satchidananda. But according to the knowledge that's coming down from the Bhagavad-gītā and the followers, that is our real nature, because we're part and parcel of Krishna. We have his qualities in minute degree. So how did we lose them? Well, we didn't lose them, but we entered into a state where they're covered and we cannot access them. We're living in a kind of a dream world, a reflection of the reality. We're looking for happiness, to maximize our happiness and minimize our distress. Where is that living entity? What to speak of human beings that aren't trying to do that? But we find inevitably that all our endeavors meet with failure, simply by the force of time. An ordinary person, we grow up, we try to go to school, get a career. Okay, we got a career, then you want to establish relationships, you have the children and family. These are normal sources of happiness and pleasure. But obviously, they're temporary. You have these wonderful kids. I take a walk. I just came back from my walk. There's, it's evening time, so the father's back from work and is taking the kids out, It's a delightful scene. The one little kid can hardly walk because got to pick him up. It's the rasa. It's a vatsalya ras. And it's part of what life is all about. But obviously, it changes. I remember when I was that age, and my father was there. I didn't think, oh, this is temporary. It's going to end. I think this is who I am. I'm this little baby boy. My father's taking care of me. But then time goes on, you grow up, you become rebellious, you go off to college, this and that, And then my father passed away, and then my mother passed away, and now I'm a grandfather age anyway, So, and then I'll pass away. So all the things that it's all very fleeting. And this is one of the first lessons of Bhagavad-gītā, is to, Bhagavad-gītā, what's the first injunction of the Vedanta Sutra? The Vedanta Sutra, Vedanta means the end of all knowledge. So all of this Upanishadic knowledge, it's kind of summarized in these aphorisms, these little koans, if you will. The last one this is a classic for a sutra. There are different sutras. Vedanta Sutra is one. There's also, I forget the names of the others, but they're a certain form of Vedic writing. So typically at the end, they'll have a little sutra that's repeated, kind of wrapping it all up. Here's our real lesson. The one is Vedanta Sutra? Anavriti Shabdat. Anavriti Shabdat. What does that mean? So avriti means covered. Anavriti means to become uncovered. become liberated through sound, through the transcendental sound. The transcendental sound will uncover your real self and your real identity. So the first sutra is a call for human beings to don't waste the human life, but atato Brahma jigyasa. Atato is made of 4 words. Ata Brahma jigyasa. So jigyasa means you should inquire. It's an imperative. You should inquire, be interested in, investigate Brahma, which is spirit, the source of everything, which is defined in the next sutra. What is the ata? It means now, therefore. Now, how do you begin a book with the word therefore? Therefore is usually at the end of an argument, right? So the understanding is you've been through all the other literature. Now you've come to the human form of life, and don't waste it, but investigate, inquire into the source of everything, the source of your very being, the ground of being, you know. In other words, don't be bewildered by the phantasmagoria of this material world. Things are attracting you here, attracting you there, this idea, that idea. Look for the source of everything. And that's defined in the next sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha, which means the Supreme Brahman, or the Absolute Truth, is the source of birth for everything. And then there's the word Adi. Every word counts to these little sutras, you know. Janmadhyasya Yataha, from which everything was born, and by which everything is sustained. This is the Adi, and in which everything will merge when everything is destroyed. This is what we should look for. That which is not destroyed, that which precedes all of this manifestation. And what is that? That's Krishna. That's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's explained at the beginning of the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, which is said to be the last work of Vyasadeva, and which is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And what's the answer? He begins with the same words. Listen carefully. The second sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha. The first verse of Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasya Yatonvayad, and then he goes on to explain in detail. And it goes into great detail about who that absolute truth is, how he manifests this world, how he expands in all these different avatars, what our relationship is. The Bhagavatam is exhaustive in its explanation of the absolute truth. It's the final work of Vyasadeva, and that's why it's so important, especially with the commentary. So where does the Bhagavad Gita fit in? The Bhagavad Gita is kind of preliminary, introductory. The themes and the truths that are explained in this book of wisdom are expanded upon in great detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we're studying, what does he say? Bahirantashta bhutanam, within and without. Bahir means without, anta means within. So how is he without? Who can say how the super soul is outside of us? Huh? He's in every atom. He's all pervading. In that sense, we're within. Remember, we're within him, and he's within us. You know. So he's also within, classically, in the heart. Right? There's several verses. Prabhupada would love to quote Sarvabhuteshu Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Viddesher Dhanatishti. The Ishvara, the Supreme Controller, who is the Super Soul, he's within everyone's heart. The 15th verse of the 15th chapter. Sarvasya chaham vriddhi sannivishto. I am present as Super Soul in everyone's heart. Now it's interesting, I think I mentioned this before, how Krishna, he switches between first person and third person. Now he's saying he. He's speaking of himself. Right? In the 15th chapter it's I dwell. So sometimes he's speaking as a guru, enlightening the disciple about the super soul, and sometimes he's speaking as the Supreme himself, enlightening the disciple about himself. So he's outside and he's inside. Achadam chadamevaha. This is just emphasizing it. The moving and the non-moving. Right? We're the moving, but there's all of these, all of these plants. Every one of those blades of grass is another living entity. Every plant, So he's within all of them. Sukshmatvat, very subtle, means he can't be seen or heard or smelled, or any of our senses cannot perceive. And therefore he's unknown by the ordinary course of investigation. Durastam, he's very far away. So you can think, now, one understanding is that the super soul in everyone's heart is an expansion of what we call Chirodakashai Vishnu. You may have heard these long names: Chirodakashai, Garbhodakashai, and Karanodakashai. That Udakashai means lying in the ocean. Udaka is ocean. So there's an ocean of milk. Kir, we're familiar with Kir, right? Kira Udakashai. That where is that ocean of milk? That is on the Vaikuntha planet within this universe, Dhruvaloka, the pole star, right? And there's Chirodakashai Vishnu sleeping on there. And he's expanded in every atom and in every heart. That's the source of the super soul. So ultimately, you take where do those Udakashai Vishnus come from, called the Purusha avatars? They're expanded from Balaram, ultimately, who's expanded from Krishna. So Krishna's the source. Durastam Chantikesya. So he's far away on his Dhruvaloka, but he's very near as well, as near as it could be within our heart. So, what does Prabhupada say? Outside and inside. Now we sing every morning. What is it? Namaste Narasingaya Paladalada Dahine Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shila Tanka Nakale Ito Nishinga Padato Nishingo Yato Yamitito Nishinga. By here Nishingo Vidaye Nishingo Nishing Amading Sadanang Prabhade. So that's the same personality. In other words, Krishna appears to us for different functions and because of our different states of consciousness. When we're threatened with something, we pray in the Shingadev, please protect me from above, from below, from around. You know, there's verses like that. And he can do it, right? He's got those fierce fangs and the fierce teeth. So, but the Super Soul has a different function, as we learned. As I think the verse is coming up in a few verses. Upadrashtanamantacha. Yeah, 23. He's overseeing everything, he's permitting, he's sanctioning, and he's generally giving us consciousness and, watching over everything we do. And it's the super soul in conjunction with the demigods who decide what our next body is according to what we've done and our thoughts of this world. So we're not alone, This is part of Krishna consciousness, to face the fact that we want to try to align our activities and our thoughts with the divine, and then we'll get the greatest benefit, the blessing, which will be no more birth and going back to the spiritual world. So that's what is being explained here. And then Prabhupada ends just this purport, this short purport. How to see him always? By the eyes of love. This is the Brahma-saṁhitā. Famous verse. Premanjana turita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu viloke yanti yang shyama sundada machindu gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Chaitanya discovered this one chapter of this book, Brahma-saṁhitā, and he just thought it was so important that he had it copied it himself and brought it back with him along with the other one. What's the other book Krishna Karnamrita. Krishna Karnamrita. So what this verse says is that when someone becomes purified and he's at every moment he's feeling his relationship with Krishna of love. What happened to your hair? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, just move over there. Jai Daniel. He can see the Lord at all moments within his heart. Premanjana, when his eyes are anointed with the salve of prema. Premanjana, Chudita Bhakti Vilochanena. Santa, the santas, the saints. We're sitting here in San Diego, Santa Clara. It's the same word, right? Santa Claus. So the santas. The saintly devotees who develop their natural love for Krishna, we all have that, but they've uncovered it by purification. They're always seeing Krishna within and without, within the heart, as Shyama Sundar, the most beautiful, attractive form. Shama, Achintya Guna Sarupam, who has unlimited, inconceivable qualities, attractive qualities. So that's how we can always see Krishna within and without. Bhakti Atmananya Shakya, the Prabhupada quotes near the end of the 11th chapter. Ananyana, exclusive devotion is possible to see him. Okay, any discussion, locally or remotely?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol Danabai.
Thank you for the nice, wonderful class. I have a question about the demigods. You said they have a job in when we take what body we get next. So what job do they have? Like, how are they involved in that?
Well, you know Yamaraj, right? He's a demigod. Yeah. He's one of the demigods. But there's a verse. How does it go? I forget. But it's described that by the Daiva, seeing what we're doing and having seen, we're given another body. It's a cooperative venture. The super soul obviously knows everything, but the demigods are also involved in giving us the body. You have the Lord of the earth, the water, the fire, all the elements of our body are also provided by the demigods. So they're also involved, and especially Yamaraj, who's the judge, about all the things that we did. So it's a complicated affair, but we should know that we have control. We're not helpless in this. Yes, we are suffering or enjoying the results of our previous karma, but that also can be changed by serving Krishna. He can eradicate all the bad karma and all the so-called good karma. Your good karma is not so good, because if you have things that are supposed to be, you have to get, suppose you're a very generous person and like that materially, so you'll have to come back again in order to get the benefits. But along with getting the benefits, you're going to get a material body and suffer old age, disease, and death. And who knows what you'll be in your next life. Maybe you'll coast along without being generous, and you'll be, sinful, and you'll suffer. So good or bad karma, we want akarma. We want nice karma. We want to act in this world and not really act. This is explained in the 4th chapter. Those who see action and inaction and inaction and action, you remember that kind of puzzle? They're really in knowledge. So we want inaction in action. We do so many things. We sweep the floor, go on in Sankirtan, chant Hare Krishna. We're doing stuff. But none of it is real action, because none of it has a material result. It has a spiritual result. It purifies our heart, purifies our senses and our mind. So that art and science of how to use your senses and your mind in that way, and your intelligence, that's the process of sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means practice. And sadhana leads to a sadhya. What is the sadhya? Prema. Prema is the sadhya. So that would indicate that I should go through the 10 basic principles of the philosophy again. You maybe heard one of these. I mentioned this, I think, either this morning. I lose track. So Amnaya, I was talking about Amnaya. Remember Amnaya? Amnaya is how the knowledge comes through the pure devotees, the parampara, and we get the knowledge as it is. So that gives us the real evidence, and then the prameyas, the points of philosophy, are the other 9. So Amnaya prahatatvam, hadamiha padamam, sarva shaktim risabdim, tad binangshang sajivan, prakati tad vimuktang stabhavat, beda beda prakasham sakalam abhihare, sadhanam shuddha bhaktim, sadhyam tad pritamevetu badishita janan gaura chandra bhajetvam. He wasn't here to correct me. I think I got the last line wrong. I taught him this verse. It's one of the first verses he learned. Bhakta Alex. So, the Amnaya means the parampara of realized souls, and how they give us the Shastra, declare that Hadamiha Padamam. Hari is supreme. Hari is another name for Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what about him? Sarva Shaktim. He has all kinds of energies. We've just been reading about them. We are one of his energies. Remember we talking about marginal, how we're in between the spirit and matter. When we turn our back on Krishna and we become absorbed in material energy, that's the beginning of our conditioned life. And it does have a beginning. And so what's the remedy? To learn how to turn back toward Krishna and to engage in devotional service, to regain our natural state of pure devotion. So, Sarva Shaktim, he has internal, marginal, and external energies. That's a big topic. but he's not. But also resabdim. He's an ocean of rasa, means that he's a person, and he takes pleasure in loving exchanges with all of his pure devotees in the spiritual world, in the material world, everywhere else. So that's very important. So resabdim, because bhakti is all about rasa. So who are we? Tadbinangshangscha jivan, with the jivas, we're separated parts and parcels. Means we never merge, we never lose our individuality, we're eternal. And because we're angsha of him, we part and parcel, therefore we have his qualities in minute degree. Just like the sun rays, a little bit of light, a little bit of heat, right? The drop of water from the ocean. It has the salt, it has the same chemical composition, but it's minute. So we're like that. Jivan, prakritika valitan, means many of us have been swallowed up by the material energy. We've engrossed in it for who knows how many births. But some have been liberated, and we can become liberated also. Tad vimuktangs bhavat. Vimukti means to be. Then this is a key point of philosophy, which Lord Chaitanya, he reconciled so many things with this one point. Bhavat, Beda Prakasham Sakalam Bapi Hare. Hare means of Hari. Beda means separate. Abeda means one with. Beda Prakasham Sakalam. Everything is that manifests, animate and inanimate, is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. How are we one? Because we're his energy. You see? We're connected to him like that. And how are we separate? Because we have our separate identity. Each of us is a separate unit of consciousness. You see? So everything is simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. And it's kind of hard to understand. That's why it's called achintya beta, inconceivably simultaneously one and different. Now, all of that was called sambandha gyan, understanding who is God, who are we, what is this world, what are the relationships between them. It takes up 7 of the remaining 9 points. The 8th point is the abhideya gyan. What is the practice? Sadhana. Sadhanam shuddha bhaktim. Pure devotion, the service devoid of any material motive and uninterrupted. That's what we're aiming for. And what's the result of that sadhana, developing that consciousness? Sadhyam tat prita mevi. Priti is another word for prema. The final goal is pure love for that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what's the benefit of that? There can't be any more benefit, because when you think about it, basically every living entity, not just human beings, we're trying to maximize our pleasure and minimize our pain. In the material world, it's a hopeless affair. Ultimately, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Krishna he certifies this is a place of dukkhalayam, of unhappiness. We hope against hope, and then it's dashed, and finally we die, get reborn, and we're far from our home. So, in the spiritual world, there's no birth, there's no death, and there's no lamentation. There's just unending waves of bliss in the form of infinite different varieties of interactions, and the aesthetics, the music, the flute music, and the smells, the taste, the visions, everything is at the highest point, and variety. It's ever fresh. It's not that's boring. I don't want to play the harp forever, or some other concept. No, it's Goloka Vrindavan. Every day is a new adventure with Krishna, of rasa. So the happiness is increased to the absolute limit, and the suffering and pain is decreased to nil. That's the goal. You can't have a higher goal than that. So that's what pure love of God gives you, and of course, no more birth and death. That's given. And the last part of the verse says, this is what Lord Chaitanya taught. These are the 10 points that he taught. So that's, and the Bhagavad-gītā is teaching it also in rudimentary ways. All right, we have time for one more, I think. Vijay, Haribol, Vijay, I forgot. I'm ready for you.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. My humble obeisances. Prabhu, from the translation we have, quote, because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know, end quote. And from the purport we have, quote, it is confirmed in Brahma-saṁhitā that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad-gītā 11:54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. End quote. So, Prabhu, my question is as follows. If Krishna is everything, and because he is everything, he is the whole time, everywhere, what is it that a person who has no love for Krishna, and because he has no love for Krishna, he is not executing devotional service, what is it that this person is seeing? Because, for example, I have no love for Krishna, but still I am seeing you giving your class through this Zoom technology. So I insist on my question. When a person has no love for Krishna, what is it that this person is seeing? Is it that this person is blind? What kind of blindness is this?
It's the blindness of ignorance. What you're seeing is the reflection of the reality. In other words, if I'm seeing Suresh now, right? But am I seeing Suresh? I'm not seeing Suresh. I'm seeing Suresh's body. But I'm thinking that I'm seeing Suresh, right? Because so it's a reflection. It's a dim hint or a suggestion of what's there. I can see there's some consciousness in there, you know, and that something's going on. So, and then, you know, on a more general level, I don't want to personalize it so much, but Prabhupada would always use as an example at a funeral. You know, someone's seeing is, oh, my father is gone. He's gone. Look, you know. And then, you know, Prabhupada says, why is he gone? There's his body. He's lying right there. What are you talking about? No, he's gone. So at that moment, everyone can understand, at least theoretically, the difference between the soul and the body, the person and the body. The body's not the person, right? And that's why those are often good times. You know, I remember reading the Bhagavad-gītā to my mother after my father died, you know, Dehinosmin yata dehi, and she was so appreciative of the knowledge that he's living elsewhere. He didn't really die, you know, which is really true. But the problem is we can't see it with our materially conditioned eyes. We're seeing a reflection of the reality. Everything is hidden, and we're taking it to be the full reality. And this is what Maya is all about, convincing us that this is the real world, and this is where our interest lies. And the interest of this body is my interest, you know? And what pleases this body, that's what I should strive for, you know? Because this is me. I mean, it feels good, you know? But the problem is that, you know, the threefold miseries, you can't stop them. Once, you know, they're not under your control, Baba said. We've seen now, you know, this is now every year when it gets hot, the fires are burning up more and more, you know? This incredible heat wave that is hit. I've been here so many years. It's never been this cool during July. And somehow or other, whatever's making it hot up there is helping us to be cooler. But you know, we have our problems. You know, we're sitting on a couple of faults here, and there was a calculation that I think between 1914 and 30 years after that, 44, there's like a 75% chance of a major earthquake right where we're sitting here. Well, how long do we beat the odds, you know? You don't beat the odds. So the point is that there's the adidaivic miseries that come from the devas, you know, that force of nature. There's your own body and mind. There's from other people. I don't know where the virus fits in. Is it alive, you know? But it's a misery. Let's put it that way, you know. And everyone's freaked out all over the world, you know. Suddenly, this is making everyone. I'm convinced that this is one of the reasons that the temple is filling up with devotees. I mean, I think it's, you know, let's get serious here. You know, we're going along in our natural way, but life is not like that. At any time, some disaster can strike. So we should be ready. We should try to learn about this philosophy. So, what we're seeing is a reflection, is a dreamlike world. It's not what it seems. I'm seeing all these people, but I'm not really seeing them. You know the old analogy of mistaking a snake for a rope and vice versa? It's a classic,
Yes,
right?
yes, I know.
So you see a rope, all right, and it's not just you. You were the whole a bunch of other people. It's kind of dark, you know. You've been drinking a little bit, and so you're in the forest, and so you see a rope, and the first guy says, "Oh my God, it's a snake!" And because he says that, and he's in the lead, they're saying, "Oh, it must be a snake," and they see the rope, and they've already conditioned their brain to think it's a snake, right? But it's actually the rope lying there. But they're reacting to it as a snake. You know, they're running from it, or they're trying to find something to beat it, you know, or they're having they're fainting fit, or they're having a heart attack, you know. So it's all illusion, but they're living it as if it's real. Similarly, these are not our bodies, but we live as if they are us. Isn't it? I mean, it's just natural. Without this knowledge and acting in devotional service and living in devotional service, you get in the bodily concept of life. And that brings to mind this wonderful verse in the Bhagavad-gītā. It's repeated 5 times, so you know it's important. Arte vidyamanepi samstutir nanavartate dhyayato vishayanasya swapne nartakamo yata. So arte in this context means actually. Avidyamane means unreal. Actually, samsriti, the sufferings of samsara, birth, old age, and disease, are actually of the nature of a dream. A bad dream, but a dream. But then he says, unfortunately, those who are absorbed, meditating, dhyayato, on the objects of the senses, both positive and negative, they cannot give up the sufferings. It's like a nightmare. In a nightmare, the sufferings are very real while you're in the nightmare. So what's the solution? To wake up. But as long as you're absorbed in the object of the senses and the material consciousness, you're asleep. And therefore, all of these things are very real to you. So what we're experiencing is, in our material consciousness, is a facsimile of reality, a reflection. And we're taking it to be real, and we're disappointed all the time, because we ourselves are eternal. And our birthright is Satchit Ananda. But we're looking for Ananda, but we're finding flickering sense gratification. So we need to wake up, and that wake-up process is Bhakti Yoga. And these great sages, like I'm thinking of Prahlad, you know, these great people who these devotees who appear in the pages of Bhagavatam, and he teaches that very thing. He's saying, "Naibod vijay padadoratya vaitauranyasvadviyagayana mahamata magna chitta." He's describing his own state of consciousness to Lord Nrsingadev, who's appeared and annihilated his demonic father who was tormenting the universe. I don't have any problem. I'm never disturbed. And he proved it. His father tried to kill them, a delicate little 5-year-old boy, and he felt a threat to the kingdom because he was preaching to the other classmates, bhakti, undermining the demoniac rule, you know, of his father. So his archenemy, Vishnu, his son is worshipping him. So he finally decided to kill him. First he gave it to his henchmen. All the ways that, you know, they knew. Throwing him off a cliff, crushing him under an elephant, having the snakes bite him. First his own henchmen with their choppers, you know, and all this. But he was so absorbed in remembering God and taking shelter of Krishna that he was protected by this divine energy. And he wasn't feeling anything, you know. And finally, after all this boiling in oil, you know, he said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You can imagine. And so his father, you know, finally freaked out. You know, he said, "But where did you get your power from?" You know? And what does Prahlad say? "Same place that you do, Father." "Oh, where is he? Where is your God?" You know? "He's everywhere, Father." You know? "Oh, is he in this pillar?" He smacks it with his chest, with his fist, you know. And who comes out? Nrsingadev. But the thing is, Hiranyakashipu didn't really recognize him as God. He saw him as a, you know, unprecedented enemy and creature, but he didn't know he was God. So that's why they say, if you know that, you know, even though he was killed, he wasn't liberated for that birth. He had to come back. There was 3 births. You know, there's a whole pastime behind it. But he was Prahlad was protected because, and what did he say? Because anywhere I am, O Father, I can immerse my mind in an ocean of nectar by chanting your glories. Twadvirya Gayana. Guy was to sing. Got Mahamrita, the great nectar ocean, magna chitta. I can immerse my mind in that consciousness and be completely blissful. And we saw the Goswamis in more recent times, they gave up everything, millions of dollars and influence. 3 of them were very, very wealthy. And they lived as austere as you could possibly live. Living under a tree in Vrindavan, different tree every night, wearing old clothes, hardly eating, hardly sleeping, but writing, these wonderful literatures and building the temples when they got, some donations, and excavating all these places of pastimes, following Lord Chaitanya's orders. And what was his state of consciousness? Gopi Bhava Dasamrita Abdullah Hari Kallola Magno Mahur. They were at the highest levels of ecstatic love of Krishna and Amrita, diving in the ocean of nectar at every moment. So how was it a good deal? They gave up millions and millions of dollars worth of gold and influence and everything, but they now enjoy this eternal pleasure. And even when they left their bodies, they just continued with the service. It wasn't temporary. So it was a good deal. And we can also have that same deal. All right, I've kind of used up most of the time.
Dravida Prabhu, again, wonderful answer to my question. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you, Vijay. He says that all the time. It doesn't matter what I say.
You are most welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, let's read one more. Where were we? Baharantas? We did. Okay, this is a short purport we can do. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam vivachastitam bhutabhatra tachageyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Although the Supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Purport. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. Does this mean that he has become divided? No, actually he is one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian, high noon, is situated in its place. But if one goes for 5,000 miles in all directions and asks, where is the sun? Everyone will say that it's shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as if divided. Also, it is said in the Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his omnipotence, just as the sun appears in many places to many persons. And the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of every living entity, devours everything at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he had come to devour all the warriors assembled at Kurukshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time he devours also. He is the annihilator, the killer of all. When there is creation, he develops all from their original state, and at the time of annihilation, he devours them. The Vedic hymns confirm the fact that he is the origin of all living entities and the rest of all. After creation, everything rests in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returns to rest in him. These are the confirmations of Vedic hymns. Yato vahimani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat payant abhisang vishanti tad brahma tad vijigyasasva. Taittiriya Upanishad 3.1. So, the Prabhupada also gives the example of, if we go out on the beach here, we set up, say, 100 pots of water. Now, if the sun is up and the sky is clear, you can get the right angle, and you can see that sun reflected in every pot of water, right? So in one sense, the sun is in all of these pots, but at the same time, he's not. So Krishna does that. He expands as a super soul in everyone's heart, but at the same time, he has his own abode. Galoka nivisatya kilatma bhuta. There's a verse in the Brahma-saṁhitā. Goloka eva nivisatya kilatma bhuta. He's present in Goloka doing those beautiful pastimes, but at the same time, he's present in the heart of all. And the whole point of this is that, well, how can we contact him? How can we understand our relationship with the Super Soul, with Krishna? Again, it's all a question of revelation, that by pleasing Krishna, beginning with pleasing his representatives, and chanting his name, it's for this age especially, meditation, then gradually we purify our consciousness, and proportionally he reveals himself to us. And we can, at some point, come to the point of constant remembrance of the Lord in every activity, every breath. So that's as far as we're going to get this week. And we'll continue with our meditation on the Super Soul here, beginning on Monday. Wait, we have time for a little poem. Okay. So, how about a meditation on Krishna entering the forest of Vrindavan and playing in the forest with his friends? So there's a beautiful painting of Krishna entering, leaving the village. There's the gopis looking at him, and he's playing the flute. And it says, with lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower placed upon each ear, he entered Braj's woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day with cowherd friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way with fine impressions of his lotus feet. Now he's running. They're out of the village. Now he's running along the bank of the Yamuna with Balaram, and the boys and the cows are behind. Wait up, wait up. Let's go, said Krishna, don't delay at all. And he and Balaram began to run ahead of all their coward friends who called, "Oh Krishna, Rama, let us join the fun." And off they ran to Braja's forest haunts, to play in every bower, grove, and sward. The boys would tease their friend with playful taunts, forgetting his position as the Lord. Shri Krishna is inviting us as well to join him in his pastimes, which enthrall. The wise heed Krishna when they hear him tell, "Let's go, my friends, do not delay at all." And the final one is a meditation on Krishna sitting on the bank of the Yamuna. And there's a little deer in front of him, and he's got a little dove in his hand, and there's a cow over there. The beauty of Shri Krishna's form beguiles, still sweeter. The sweetness of Shri Krishna's form beguiles. Still sweeter is his face like autumn moon, but sweeter than the sweetest is his smile, whose luscious beauty makes the gopi swoon. Govinda's beauty captivates the doves, the swans, the deer, the cows, and every tree. Indeed, in Braja, every creature loves Shri Krishna and is drowned in ecstasy. That all-enchanting land is paradise, our home, where we may dwell eternally. Most welcome there are those who pay the price to learn to love Shri Krishna perfectly. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very nice.
You're welcome, Dadabai. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank
you others out there. I know you're out there.
Dravida Prabhu,
yes.
Are you the author of this poem?
I'm the author.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Write to me email. I'll send you all my poetry.
I'll do that. Thank you.